We were hitting well over 3-metre waves, well over. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Well, that was, I think, the closest we've ever been to being crashed. Well, yeah. Start again.
So yesterday I got close to one of these fishing boats by taking the dinghy underneath those outriggers. Today it's his turn to come close to us.
How are you, mister?
How are you? Abdullah?
This is speak Indonesian?
No,
No?
little.
No, so speak Indonesian?
No.
No? Oh,
Sorry.
I'm
But
sorry.
you speak English?
No.
Yes, you do. Your English is good.
They speak Indonesian. I don't speak English.
No, but your English is very good. It's good. So it's a Friday. What they do is they come up and they anchor on this drying land, and you can see the tide is going out, and as it goes out, so it ends up being beached there. And there seems to be lots of men running around in underpants doing some quick maintenance in the 6 hours of low water they have here. It's a Friday, so a lot of the crew have probably gone to the mosque, but these guys have remained, and there's one guy painting the outrigger there, and the rest are just standing around waving at the camera, running around in underwear. I don't know if I can get much closer because I'm about to run out of water. Well, it's what, 4:30 in the afternoon, and the water is now risen just high enough for our freshly painted fishing boat to now leave his little dry dock and go back out to sea. And very smart she's looking too. Well, unfortunately for you, we didn't have the camera ready to record what we've just been through, which was nothing short of a horrible nightmare. I was actually sort of waking up first thing in the morning, and Liz was up on deck, and suddenly this squall hit us super hard. And the problem is that these fishing boats, which I showed you before with the massive outriggers, had anchored upwind of us, and 3 of them dragged, and 3 of them were aiming for Esper. It was horrendous. It was your worst nightmare. These fishing boats are unmanned. It is the eve or the morning of Ramadan, which means everyone is back at home, so no one was on those boats, and when that squall kicked up, 3 of those dragged down on us.
That was one of the most dangerous situations that we've ever been in. Being at the front of the boat, trying to get the anchor up, we had 70 metres of chain out, of course, and seeing this thing, this spidery fishing boat, massive construction coming straight at us. Towards the end, as I was desperately trying to get the chain up, I was looking up the whole time, and it was sort of there. It was there. It was like 50 feet away, maybe less. It was like a Hollywood movie where you've got the countdown and you're thinking, are they going to make it off the bridge before it collapses? Is whatever going to happen, and I just left it to fate. I just thought, I've just got to get this done. I've just got to get this done, got to get this chain up, need to get this chain up, because if I don't, we're stuck here and that thing is going to bloody hit us. And I got to a stage where I thought, do I duck because it's going to hit us, or do I run back to the cockpit, run away? No, just keep getting the fucking chain up, was all I kept thinking.
We mentioned this before, I think, in a podcast, and a couple of people said, well, why not have a GoPro on a head mount thing? Believe me, in these situations, the last thing that you're going to be grabbing is a camera. The first problem we had was that we couldn't hear if the engine had started. That's how loud the wind and the rain was. And then the starter battery, I don't think was quite working, so we had to parallel to the lithium batteries to start that up. And then we've got the flapping sunshades, which we had left down, so we needed to roll those up. So there's all these things going on, and they're not straightforward, and as I say, the last thing you think about is picking up a camera.
We we got the solar panels down straight away. We could have done it quicker, but you know, it wasn't easy. I think the next thing that has to come off is the cover at the front of the cockpit here, because you couldn't see me and I'm at the front going, go left, go left, go left, go, you know, all this sort of thing, because I need to direct you when I'm bringing up the chain, because you can't see where it is, but I can see the way that the boat needs to move. So we lost time with you having to look over the top and come back. It takes a moment to take this thing off, but I think ultimately it would have saved us time and it would have been better. That for me was the main lesson learned. Second thing is to have a pair of shorts ready to put on at any moment, because all I was wearing was a sarong, which was just wrapping itself round me, exposing me, although that didn't really matter. So I think I'm going to leave a pair of shorts ready to grab at any minute.
The wind can, and has done once before, caught underneath the solar panels. If you imagine the big solar panels horizontal like that, so if the wind catches they can pull up. But really the main reason was because I could see these boats coming down on us, and if they had hit the boat they would have hit the solar panels first and destroyed them. So you have a more of a fighting chance with the solar panels down, and so if anything does hit you, it could hit maybe just the side of the boat instead of the panels. Always bring the dinghy up, and we always do. 99% of the time we'll bring the dinghy up. Last night for some reason, I don't know why, I think I came back on my own. I just left the dinghy hanging out the back during the afternoon, and just before I went to bed I'd suddenly realised the dinghy, we hadn't hoisted it. Now at that point it would have been tempting to have just said, just leave it. Well, this morning was an example of why it's always a good idea to hoist the dinghy, because the last thing you want is that thing flapping around the back of the boat, and of course the painter from the dinghy, the line from the dinghy to your boat, potentially could wrap around something. So yeah, always take the dinghy up. Liz and I have been in these situations many times now, sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, and a couple of occasions with boats dragging down onto us where we've had to make a quick exit. And so we've had a lot of experience doing this, but we've had a lot of experience doing it with each other, so we kind of understand what each person is doing in these situations and what is expected of each other. And I have to say, I always feel very confident with Liz generally, but especially when it comes to weighing the anchor in those situations, I can put my complete trust in her. And all I have to do is to move the boat in the direction that she tells me while she deals with weighing the anchor, and she's now very good at it. I think the important thing there is that I'm not panicking, because in these situations it is very easy to panic, and when you start panicking you can start making wrong decisions or indecisions, and that's the worst thing, is to actually just not do anything because you're covered in blind panic. But
or try and do everything yourself. Try and do everything yourself instead of allowing your crew to get on and do the jobs that they've been trained to do. That's the whole idea of having crew. If it's just a husband and wife, you've both got focused jobs. We know couples where the woman might stay on the helm. It's just evolved this way that I tend to go up the front, and I'm very confident in what I do and you're very confident in what you do. But if you try and do it all, if you try and take over, you can't. So always have these kinds of scenarios in mind and train for them and just get used to it. Simple anchoring and weighing anchor, have that in place, because we do the same thing all the time, every time. So it's by rote, it's mechanical, we know what we're doing. Thing was that I was up in the cockpit. Excuse me, I sound odd because I've got half a tooth that fell out yesterday.
This morning we've got to take Liz somewhere special. I'll let her explain and you might be able to work it out.
I lost half my tooth at the back the day before yesterday. There's a great big hole there and my tongue is all lacerated. I'm in pain.
If you didn't quite understand that, we need to go to the dentist. It's an emergency medical operation required. So we're off, and we'll talk to Liz afterwards to see how it went. Yeah. Where are we?
We are in dental care.
Why?
For fix Liz teeth.
And what, this is Yaya's dentist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't hear Liz. It's noisy here because we're on the main road. We just came through a little village, I suppose, and this is Yaya's dentist. And we're hoping that they can fix Liz's tooth up. This is what happens when things go wrong. You have to eke out the local doctors and dentists, but it's a good recommendation, so hopefully things will go well for Liz. Not entirely sure what the health and safety protocol is here, but we're allowed to come in and watch this operation. Fortunately, Liz doesn't need any anaesthetic, it's just a case of filling in the hole.
Never had an audience before.
Yeah.
Oh, besok dia ini pulang.
Yeah.
To make sharp.
Oh, I think we have one. We're buying one of these because we've been meaning to buy one for literally years. We finally went with a local person to the market to get one. So this is a good one. I mean, it's just your average machete, and it's for opening coconuts. Kalapa. Now it's got a sharpening block there. Do you want to get that as well?
Pretty sure. We return to the very first coffee shop we came to on our very first day with Saiful and Yaya, and they tell me that these guys sell coffee beans. So I've actually come here to pick up some local roasted coffee beans. They only do it by the kilo, but that's not a problem because I'll get through that in no time.
After stocking up on coffee beans, it was time to visit the market for some final provisioning.
We have said our goodbyes to Saiful and Yaya, and of course Hendra, not forgetting Hendra, who've just been magnificent, really looked after us. And so the plan was to head up the coast. There's an anchorage about 15 miles away before we go around the top corner. And just as we're preparing the boat, one of those northerly squalls has just blown through. You can see the majority of it behind me over my shoulder. We're catching the edge of it. But it's strong enough that there are now full-on white horses in the anchorage. And it's blowing from the north, which is where we want to head. So I can imagine when we go around the corner, it's going to be a little bit shitty. So I think we'll probably just wait for it to settle because, you know, we've got time. It's only 15 miles away. So we'll just let this calm down first before saying goodbye to Tolitoli.
Yesterday we recorded a podcast and we talked about when you decide to go and where you decide to go, and two of the things we said that were really important always are tolerance and patience. And this morning we were planning to head out of Tolitoli, but we've got metre waves and quite strong wind here in the harbour, and we don't know what it's doing out there, but it's going to be definitely worse and the wind will be against us. So we're being tolerant and we're being patient and we're sitting here and waiting to see what happens. 30 knots of wind.
Liz just told me to do a piece to camera, but I'm actually standing by the helm because we've re-anchored. We've actually come into behind where the big boats tie up, the port harbour wall, I suppose. This is where all the fishing boats are as well, so it's not ideal. But Fraser and I moved over here first, and we looked at them through the binoculars, and they seem to be slightly less bouncy than what it was out there, which was at least 1.5 metre waves coming in, breaking. We had to move, so we've come in here. We're surrounded by shallow patches, other boats at anchor. You can see that little boat there. He's on a reef which is only 30 metres away, so it's basically staying on anchor watch with the engine running. I hate this shit.
Well, we are used to anchoring in waves and weather, but it's still a horrible thing to be, especially we've got this reef so close to us here. Got the engine on ready to go if anything happened. We've now got rain as well, and usually the rain flattens things down a bit, so that's one good thing about having rain. Coming across from where we were to here, obviously I was bringing up the anchor and the nose of the boat was going underwater, so I'm completely drenched in seawater. Good news, engine was on, so we've got hot water so I can have a decent shower later. Got a few small fishing boats coming back, which is fine. Just gonna hope to hell that those great big spiders don't come back, or if they do, they tie up alongside and don't try and anchor out here. Anchor watch again. I wonder how long this is going to last, we just don't know.
And once again, you missed all of the glorious footage which we didn't take as we made our way across from that last anchorage down up across east, west, north, directly over to another island which I had my eye on, which is offering a lot more protection. Now, from here to there, that's where we came from. It's only, what, 2 miles or so. We were hitting well over 3 metre waves, well over. I mean, it was just ridiculous. The engine was on 2,000 RPM and we were doing 2 knots. The problem was that the waves and the wind actually switched. So when we dropped the hook, we were fine for about half an hour, and then they started coming in from the west, which was completely open. So I said, F it, let's just get out there. And I've been eyeing this little place up, which I'll show you in a minute. But I need to put the camera down because I've got to negotiate a reef over there and a reef there. I'll come back to you in a bit, but that's what the weather's like. Fucking horrible.
So we weren't the only ones that had to leave. The Tarakan ferry has come out and 2 fishing boats followed us out. Bit of an exodus. I've just spoken to Daryl, who's on the other yacht. They stayed because they've got a problem with their windlass in the middle of it all and a dodgy engine. So at least we were out of their way, but he just rode it out on the engine, and he says that although it's calmed, it's not flat like it is here, but at least he's okay. And I've just had a lovely hot shower because I was completely drenched from head to toe in seawater. And
why is that then? Explain.
Well, because I was up the front 3 times, pulling the anchor up, putting it down, pulling it up, putting it down, pulling it up, putting it down. And the bow was right under the water. When I had the waves were up here, and I just getting completely full of water. And the anchor locker was full at one stage, and then the water would drain out. So yeah, got very wet. Hello.